kuno aho pano mamuona kere nai anovura meso anovura nzeve anogaya marigi doti como wengere doti como usasarire anogaya mari
kambakwe uyo anotara mari anogaya mari garai mamunzwa pane nyaya pano zvamunoda kunzwa zvinotaurwa pano madiko kumunzwa mugovane.com kambakwe vanogaya mari vanotaura mari vanosiya mari kambakwe vanotaura feya kuti pamberi zvichafamba sei vanhu muteerere zvikubatsirei mukufamba kwenyu zvikubatsirei mirai ndikudze kuti chokwadi pano chizere kambakwe vanogaya cash vanopa mafacts vanotaura straight vane evidence vane confidence plus intelligence
entertainment current affairs and news kambakwe.com usasarire kambakwe anogaya mari
Right, 7 June 2022, and today I've got a very, very interesting topic. This whole week, Zimbabweans have been talking about a new vice president, and as you know, that was last year around March. The vice president at that time resigned. That is Vice President Kemba Muhadi. He is still the ZANU-PF vice president. And the reason why people are obviously bringing this up is there's an elective congress for ZANU-PF in October. So during that elective congress, I don't know normally how it works, but I'm sure this is the time when every position in ZANU-PF, including the presidency, is supposed to be elected or is supposed to be contested. Although we know that in the current situation, it's not possible for ZANU-PF to have that kind of election because ZANU-PF is basically, in fact, ZANU-PF and ZAPU are military organizations that came together through the Unity Accord. So you cannot have an election in a military structure. The way that ZANU-PF is structured is a military structure, and the most senior person in the environment is the one who takes over. So in this current situation, it's President Idim Mnangagwa, obviously going into the election in 2023. But the question then arises, is there really a need to have a second vice president? And this has come out because as you know, there are some people who like to leak information, and it was leaked out through a tweet by Professor Jonathan Moyo that the current commander of the Defense Forces, General Valerius Banda, is already getting ready to be appointed as the next vice president of Zimbabwe. And he said that another general called Elson Moyo, I think, is going to be replacing commander of the Defense Forces, Valerius Banda, is the new commander of the Defense Forces. So the appointment would obviously trigger other appointments within the military of Zimbabwe. Now, I want to unpack this And to me, it's not simple and straightforward to say that they are going to just appoint General Valerio Spanda as the new vice president. I've been thinking about this very, very carefully. And there are a number of factors here that could make it otherwise. So you might find out that maybe they might end up appointing, in fact, when I say they, I mean the president, because the president appoints the vice president. You might find out that the president ends up appointing someone else. And I'm going to come up here with a number of names that have been thrown around as who could be the next vice president. So obviously, as I said, the debate has come out because the elective Congress is in October. And then generally, Zimbabweans, they want something to happen. So if you talk about any change in the presidium, people get excited. So this has been a very exciting topic to Zimbabweans. It was even in parliament, and all these people that you know that are in public, they were tweeting about it and talking about it. So that is the first reason. The second reason is obviously that President Mnangagwa is going to his last term as the president of Zimbabwe. This is second and last term. The one in 2023 is going to be his last term. So what happens is, in such a situation, people are starting to position themselves. And I've said this in the past, that there's a second layer after the president that is going to play a very big role. After the 2023 elections, you're going to see more of this second layer. And if it's not well managed in ZANU-PF, you can see a lot of confusion. That is why it's important now to have a second vice president, because in my view, a second vice president will reduce factionalism, because factionalism arises from people saying, okay, should I be loyal to the guy who is there now, or should I be loyal to the guy who is coming? And that is where factionalism comes from. And people, they just think, okay, maybe I think that guy is the one who's coming in. Let me try to be closer to that guy. So if you're to appoint a second vice president, what will happen is that it's no longer certain who is coming. So the factionalism becomes three-way and it becomes diluted. It's no longer as strong as the factionalism that you see currently when some people are trying to put themselves out there as people who support this side or the other side. So, in my view, General Spanda, Valerio Spanda, I do not know if he is the most senior within the ZAPU structures. Because in 2014, when John Landankomo died, the line of seniority was such that there were people who were in line to be vice president, people like Obet Mpofu, Skanyiso Ndlovu, Simon Kaya Moyo, and obviously Dumiso Ndavengo was no longer in line because he was out of ZANU-PF. And then there was also Stembi Sonyoni. So in my thinking, of all these people that are left, or that are listed here now, there is Obet Mpofu here and there's Stembi Sonyoni, who are still there. And you saw what Stembi Sonyoni said a few months ago. We actually published the interview that she did. She said that women should be given a place in leadership. And if you go to gambako.com and you just type Stembi Sonyoni there in the search, you'll see that speech. So there are other people besides Commander of the Defense Forces, Valerio Spanda, who could be vice president. The question is, what is the criteria that is used, or that was used in the past, and what is the criteria that is used now? Because at the time, in 2014, President Idi Mnangagwa was the Minister of, I think, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, and he had said that the ZANU-PF and ZAPU unit accord, that requirement to have a ZAPU vice president was no longer important. That is how he was quoted in the newspapers. If you look online, you'll see that. So President Mnangagwa does not think, or did not think at the time, that it was important to have a ZAPU a senior ZAPU person as the vice president. So the criteria there might be very, very interesting, given where we're going in 2023. The most important fact about 2023 is that we're going into a very, very difficult election. And the kind of person that you want close to President Mnangagwa must be someone very hardworking, someone who can assist him to shoulder the workload. There's going to be a lot of workload for campaigning and also running the office. And I think right now it's clear that President Mnangagwa has got so much happening at the same time. You can see he's flying to this place and flying to another place, and he's got all these responsibilities. Imagine if you have to add campaigning on top of all those responsibilities. As we speak right now, the appointments that are supposed to be made, key appointments that were supposed to be made, I've seen those appointments have not been made. In fact, what has happened is there are positions that have been vacant for a very, very long time, and the vice presidents is one of them. There are also positions in parastatals where there are a lot of acting people, and there are also, in fact, positions like in intelligence. I'm sure the intelligence minister, they'd move that position into the president's office. So the actual appointment, the process of appointing, is becoming more and more difficult because only one person has to do it. Normally, if you've got a vice president, that is very effective. What they will do is, in fact, if you've got two vice presidents that are effective, what they will do is one will take over some responsibilities and another will take over some responsibilities. Most of the day-to-day running of government will then be done by the vice presidents, and the president will concentrate on the high-level issues. But at the moment, it seems like everything has to go through the president, and it creates a backlog. So I've seen guys in Harare, when I was over in Harare, you see guys saying, I'm going to see the president and the appointment is in 2 months' time. So if you've got an effective vice president who is not also overburdened, some of those people, instead of looking for the president, they'll be looking for one of the vice presidents, or in fact, the portfolios will be split in such a way that the president has got less workload. So it's a workload issue. It's also an elective Congress issue. And also, it's an issue of expectation. Zimbabweans just want something to happen. They want to see something happening. You saw what has happened now with the issue of the exchange rate. That issue needs to be solved because the economy is not functioning like it was 6 months ago. It's now an economy for those who've got sources of foreign currency. If you don't have a source of foreign currency, you're in trouble. So those are the kind of issues that a new vice president can address, because he'll be having enough opportunity to do those things. Now, as for Jonathan Moyo's tweet, Professor Jonathan Moyo's tweet, Professor Jonathan Moyo tweeted that the new office is being set up. I was wondering what happened to the office of President Kembo Mohadi, or he took all his people to ZANU-PF with him. So I was not sure about that. But in my view, the appointment of a second vice president, it's imminent and it's important. It has to be done. But the question of who is going to be that vice president, it's not simple. That office has had people there that are of the military strategists. Let's look at the 9 people who have in this office. There have been 9 people there, and the new vice president will be the 10th. So obviously, General Constantino Chiwenga, who is there now, Simon Mzenda, Joshua Ngomo, John Landa Ngomo, Joseph Msika, Joyce Mjuru, Idi Mnangagwa. You can see that everyone here, Pelekezela Mpoko, I've forgotten about that guy. If you look at the people here, and obviously former Vice President Kembo Mohadi, these guys are military and intelligence. Everyone here is military and intelligence. I don't know about, I think the only person in here who I don't know if he had the military background is Joseph Msika. So everyone else here is the military. They were in the thick of the fight, and Kembo Mohadi was part of intelligence. In fact, he was head of intelligence for Zimbabwe in a very, very high capacity for a very, very long time. So that position is a position that you have to handle security matters. Right now, we've got Vice President Constantino General Govea Chiwenga, who is handling the health issues. COVID, you saw how COVID was well handled in Zimbabwe because it was handled like a military project. So the appointment of a vice president, it will have to take that into consideration. The kind of person that you're going to put next to President Mnangagwa, the vetting that they have to go through, the capacity that they have to have. They have to have the same capacity as these guys who have been in these positions. And I think the choice then will be, is it political or is it military? So to me, this is going to be more military than political. Because if you are going to go political, then you have to look at guys like Obed Mpofu. You have to look at people like Stembi Sonyoni. These are actually senior people compared to, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't know the status of General Valerio Spanda in ZAPU. These guys are actually more senior, and they are more in the politics of ZANU than General Spanda. So the decision obviously will be made, and I hope that it will be made very, very soon. And I don't know where Professor Jonathan Moore is getting his information, but I just want to show you how this has become a very topical issue. If you look at, there's a tweet here I saw. I always try to find the journalists, what other journalists are saying. So Harare Live posted here, in fact, it's iHarare. They posted here a tweet by Hopo Chingono. And Hopo Chingono here is saying General Valerio Spanda would be the most suitable for this position. And I cannot understand, like, because we all know that Hopo, which faction is in, but he is saying here General Valerio Spanda will be the right person for this position. And I always think, if I was to appoint somebody, let's say I'm going to appoint a vice president just before the elections, what kind of vice president would I appoint? Obviously, I would want a vice president that won't rock the boat. You want to get someone in there who has worked with the two men. So General Spanda has been in JOC, Joint Operations Command, and he's worked with President Mnangagwa and Vice President Constantino Chiwenga. So obviously, these two, they know each other. In fact, I want to show you this thing. I don't want people to say I'm creating a story here. Let me share this thing by Hopo here. And I was surprised when I saw this because, right, let's see what he's saying here. Just give me a second for this thing to display. Right, so this is a tweet by Hopo. The dark horse to replace Mohadi is General Valerio Spanda, who was a commander in ZIPRA, the ZAPU military wing, during the war. This might be an opportunity to bring him into politics. General Spanda is the current commander of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces and he has clout. Right, so that is Hopo there. You can go around and look. There's many people talking about this issue of the new vice president, who is going to be the new vice president of Zimbabwe, and also giving their, right, I need to stop sharing this, also giving their views of why. So to me, the decision obviously sits with President Mnangagwa, but having people in acting capacity in positions and having vacant positions in government, I think it's a problem, because you obviously want things to function. And if you have got all these empty positions in government, things don't function. This is an honest situation. If you have a government, for example, take the government of Hakainde Hichilema, they had such a hard time filling positions because they fired too many people at once. So for a long, long time, the government was not able to function. The president became the center of everything. Similarly, in the Zimbabwe government, as people get out of their positions and it takes longer to replace them, it actually creates problems because there are people just floating around. If you go to the office of the former office of President Kembo Mohad right now, you will see people that are just floating around, not doing anything, causing gossip, moving from one office to another. And some of them, they are the ones that are sending out these documents with information just because they've got nothing else to do. This is what happens when you've got people in open positions. There also things don't function. Take, for example, the issue of ZIDA. I don't know if they've appointed someone there, but after the death of Nuts, I'm sure nothing is happening there. There's no leadership, there's no direction. And it happens in every organization or every place where a leader has left. For example, when the lady from Zimra left, I'm sure it would take months for that place to function. And the guys who are corrupt, they will make use of the opportunity to create even more chaos. And slowly it goes through ministries, through parastatals, until you get to the vice president's office. So these are very important appointments to be made. And all vacant positions, I think as soon as they're okay, they need to be filled so that things function as they're supposed to function. Right, so let me see if there are any comments here, and then we're going to close this very interesting topic. Let's look at, okay, I had the picture of Mtuli over there on my ad. So obviously people want to know, why did I have that? There were reports that Mtuli Ngube could be on the run for the vice presidents. And I just wanted to address that I don't think it's easy for him to come in to become a vice president immediately without going through the leaders that I've just mentioned here. There are many leaders who come before him. And I think it would be difficult for him to just become the vice president, bypassing all those guys. It would be quite difficult. Let's look at okay, I want to see if there's any comment here. Muchenget, he's saying, why is it that you can't interview people of your party? My party, I think you mean ZANU-PF, right? I'm not a member of any party at the moment. Right. Peter Jones is saying, seniority will never solve the economic problems of Zimbabwe. I don't think Peter Jones understands politics. And I think most people don't understand how powerful President Mnangagwa is. In fact, the president of Zimbabwe is a very powerful office. But in general, all presidents in Southern Africa, very, very powerful in terms of how they got into those offices and who they are. And this is why sometimes I tell people that for Chamisa to become president, it will be very difficult. Look at any country here in Southern Africa, Mozambique, Botswana, Zambia, all these countries around here. The presidents are solid. They're solid people. Military background, business background. They're not just people you pick from the street or from the universities. They are people with very, very strong foundation in military or in business. So that's something you have to take note of. It's not an easy thing to be a president. The president of South Africa here is a billionaire, and his brother-in-law is another billionaire. Just think about that. The president of Botswana itself is a former vice president. If you look at Mozambique, he is the former intelligence head of that country. So it's not people just you pick on the streets. Economy is not solved as simple as people think. Mpofu says something about General Osmanda. I don't think that is true. And then let's look at Hilda. Hilda saying CCC is not from the street. Chamisa is never even run a tuck shop. Like, what thing has Chamisa ever done? Honestly. Let's look at Sem Ngube. Sem Ngube is saying, I think Stem is Onyoni. Right, Stem is Onyoni. She is in the running because obviously she has put herself out there. You saw what she said. I wish I could play that video where she said, women must also be given a chance. She said, women is the opportunity for women to run things in government. We've never had a female vice president since Mamjuru. So maybe this is the right time to have a female vice president. And I don't know, I haven't seen her participating a lot. In fact, at one point we made a post about her being late because she had been gone away for so long and someone had published something and we just picked it up. So these are some of the things. If you're in government, obviously, you need to be someone that's visible. And I think that is one of the things that we need to address, visibility among our people, our leaders, because it's important, but it's not a criteria. You saw what happened to Pelekezela Mpoko. He just came from nowhere and he became the vice president of Zimbabwe. I had never heard of the guy until he was appointed vice president. And then suddenly we all knew that he was the most senior guy. So it's important for us to remember that the president is the one who knows how he appoints a vice president. But I think it's long overdue to have all the positions in government, to just have an audit and say which positions in government are empty, are not occupied, and find people to fill them in, promote people from within, and also to take people from outside. Right, I think we've covered everything here that I wanted to cover. Tomorrow, we're going to have Dr. Fedias Mteneri. We want to look at the death of prominent lawyer and former Tsvangirai advisor, Alex Magaisa. Let's look at what is happening. He's going to be buried in Zimbabwe, according to family statements. So I hope that we'll have a discussion about the controversial role of these guys who go outside the country and they become popular on international platforms. What is the basis of their popularity? Is it serving the country? Let's see what Dr. Fedias says, and it will obviously be very, very interesting. Let's talk about it tomorrow. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you very much, and good night.
Uyo uko kuno apo